My name is Greg Norman. We're lucky enough to have with us tonight Chris Clark, who is the race director for the current Bayview 2020 Mackinaw race this coming summer, Port Huron and Mackinaw.
Yeah.
And we're going to have a conversation about exactly what race director does in the off-season, during the season. But I wanted to take the time, first of all, to thank you.
Thank you.
We are sitting here at Bayview on the Tug.
Yep, the Queen City.
Queen City, and it is sort of a temporary housing area because your clubhouse is being worked on.
Yep.
And maybe you can talk a little bit about the boat, just briefly.
The boat is a 19-teens workship. It's used to be coal powered. It hasn't been powered in many, many, many years. The club members worked to do a lot of the renovation on the boat, a lot of cleanup on the outside, and fortunately now we get to use it for our temporary clubhouse. It still has that really homey feel of Bayview.
If you're sitting in the front of it where we are, I think we're probably 4 or 5 or 6 feet above at the end of the boat.
Yes.
So you actually get a feel of being on a boat at this point.
Absolutely.
And if you're not careful with the shiny seats, you can actually slide off of them downhill.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's just a side point for what it's worth. Now, race chairman, it's a kind of a 5-year kind of a program. Maybe can I start explaining a little bit away the process of how you became the chairman of this particular race?
Okay. Well, I'm the race chairman, and you're asked to become the race chairman, and you go through a selection criterion where before you're asked, the Mackinaw Race Authority, which is the overarching guiding body, managing body for the race. Almost all major offshore yacht races in the world are managed by a separate entity from the club that actually hosts the race.
Why is that?
And to avoid conflict of interest. Right. Just to provide some separation. And it's very, very hard if you were to say a Commodore has to manage the race. Commodore's got more than enough other stuff to do.
Especially for a race that size.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is pretty much it's a 12-month commitment. It is 12 months of active planning to run the race. But then after you're vetted, let's say, by the Mackinaw Race Authority, then the Mackinaw Race Authority will accept you, and then your name goes up for approval to the newly elected rear Commodore. I'm sorry, I was thinking rear vice. I got a little confused there for a second. Sorry.
The Mackinaw, the MRA,
yes,
is made up of what? Made up of who?
It's made up out of appointed and elected people into that position, appointed by the so the Mackinaw Race Foundation gets to appoint a person. I'm probably going to get the structure totally wrong.
That's
yeah. But so the Mackinaw Race Foundation, which is an entity that does fundraising, just to preserve us in the future, should we not be able to gain sponsorship and things like that for a race. Then the MRA has a certain number of people where they're able to go out and recruit people to join, and the Commodore gets to put people on that organization also.
Is that organization oversee the Chicago to Mackinaw race, or is that a whole different body?
No, it's a whole different body. Okay. The Bayview race is a separate race from the Chicago race. And, oh Lord, if you would have told me I had to run 2 races, no way.
Well, they've been running it since, I think, 1998, and I think you guys have been running this one since 1925. Does that sound right? And there's been the idea that you switch every other year, just to make it more convenient for the sailors. And
yeah.
There's been some cooperation throughout the years.
Oh, absolutely. Chicago Yacht Club is, historically there's been viewed as a bunch of rivalry between the clubs, but we recognize that participating and working together creates a much better event for the participants, and we alternate every other year because then that stops or it reduces the delivery requirements to get to the next event. So it's pretty easy to recruit boats if you've let's say raced from Port Huron up to Mackinaw. You've only got a 300-mile delivery down to Chicago, where in the next year you're going to have about a 550-mile delivery down there. So it really helps.
You have 200 and odd boats that race every year.
Yep.
I'm just curious, how many boats from the Port Huron to Mackinaw race to Chicago in
that? Good number.
25%?
I'd give it probably a little higher than that.
Okay.
Probably a little higher. I'd go 35, 40%. Make their way down there. So it's a good number of boats.
It's a lot of time off for people in the summertime.
Yes, it is. And then if you're what a lot of boats do is they do the first Mackinaw race, the second Mackinaw race, and then they take the boats and race the next weekend at Harbor Springs.
Right.
So that's a pretty big commitment.
And if not, you go to North Shore. You go through up the North Channel. You go up that way.
Yeah.
Now, you've recently spent some time in Florida sailing.
Yes, sir. I have.
Etchells, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
So maybe talk a little about that experience.
I've been involved in Etchells for a long time. My first Etchells I got probably in the early 90s. And I started racing Etchells because it's hard. If you want to go sail against, if you want to get your butt kicked badly, you go race Etchells. You're going to sail against, everybody that you read about. There are 2 Etchells World Champions that are from Detroit, Bruce Burton and Skip Dyball. Other gentlemen like, Dennis Conner, Gary Jobson, Russell Coots. These guys are all top in the class, and it's tough.
Side note, we interviewed Jobson earlier in this series and mentioned that the question was, what's your favorite boat? He said it was Etchells, and he's been racing them since he's 15.
Yep.
He said he got better at Etchells, he got better as a sailor because of racing Etchells, which is why he got into college.
Absolutely.
And racing college. He says it was the one boat that you can't make a mistake on.
Absolutely. And the series that they do down in Miami, give or take, it's one regatta a month through the winter. So it'll be one 2-day or 3-day event through the winter. It's held out of Biscayne Bay Yacht Club down on Biscayne Bay in Coconut Grove. An absolutely spectacular club. Coral Reef Yacht Club, which is right next door, participates with it. And without those 2 clubs working together, it would be difficult to do. But they'll get anywhere from 40 to 60 boats on the race course. And at the same time, there'll be 80 stars racing on that course over there. The M32s will be racing on another race course over here. It's a pretty crowded. It's a big bay, but it's a pretty crowded bay.
I must be thinking about your calendar. You have a full-time job. You're the race chairman for the 20,000 Mackinaw race, and you're racing Etchells. So you must be time management guru of some sort.
No, as you know, I'm difficult to get a hold of, and I show up late, so my time management skills aren't that great. But also on top of that, we also were a group of the Equation guys, along with Commodore Hanson Bratton, have chartered J120 from Detroit, and we've sent that down there to do some of the SORC races. So we did the Worth Monroe race, which is commonly known as the Race to the Buffet. Finishes at the Sailfish Club. Absolutely spectacular. If anybody hasn't done that race, they ought to put it on their bucket list. Then we went down to so I was down racing Etchells. Then I went back down to do the race from Miami to Key West. And unfortunately, the morning we go out to the starting line, we have an engine electrical fire.
Oh God!
So unfortunately, we weren't able to do that race. And down there, here in Detroit, we would have just sailed out of the dock, sailed to the starting line. Down there, where we are, we're at Pier 66 in Fort Lauderdale, and you have to pass underneath a bridge, and you have to go by a restricted area next to the cruise ships, and they do not respond well to boats sailing past the cruise ships.
So power's crucial.
There will be gentlemen with automatic weapons coming to talk to you.
I'm in the ski world. We used to go to Portillo, Chile, in the summertime, and you get the chairlift, and there'd be 2 guys with machine guns. They're protecting resort people because they come from all over the world. It's just a little unsettling when you're skiing at Boyne, or you're skiing someplace even out in Utah, and then all of a sudden you're skiing where there's guys at the bottom with guns. That's not so much anymore, but that was like that in the 80s and 90s. A race chairman is an appointed position.
Yes.
In your 3rd year.
Yes.
Have you been race chairman 1st or 2nd year?
No.
So it automatically comes in your 3rd year because of the hierarchy.
Yes, automatically comes in your 3rd year. So really what we're trying to do is we're working on consistency.
Right.
And we want to create a consistent experience for the participants, and we want to set up a consistent structure for all the volunteers that support the race. Okay. And if we had a new race chairman, as we did in the past, a Commodore would get elected, a Commodore would appoint a race chairman. They'd be kind of starting out from scratch. Sure. And the events become a lot larger. There's a lot more value, hopefully value brought to the participants.
Talk a little bit about your 1st and 2nd year as you're learning it. If that's the right term. Talk about your 1st and 2nd year. What's the 1st year? What's the 2nd year like? And then we'll talk about the 3rd year.
1st year, you're just kind of watching. 1st year, you're an observer.
Carrying water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Right.
Yeah. You're an observer. You're understanding who all the players are. You're getting to see all the issues, and everybody in their first year, they pick up a few things and walk those across the finish line. But the first year, overwhelmingly, you're just trying to take it all in because there's a good number of moving parts.
Second year.
Second year, you become much more active in the actual race management. You participate in issue resolution up on the island. You take on, working on some of the documents. It transitions from observing to a little more of a hands-on role.
Third year, you become race director. So here's my question: is this a gradual, get more responsible when you get to year 5, or is sort of year 3 race director and it's downhill after race director?
So after being race chairman, then it is, I wouldn't say it's downhill, but then you become a consultant, guidance. Okay. You help address the issues. The things gone right, things gone wrong. You try to hopefully make sure you've institutionalized the things gone right. You've worked to create a solution for the things gone wrong. And it's really to just continue to provide guidance, because we really want continuity for the race. And you can't do continuity in 1 year.
So at the moment, you're at the top of Everest in this 5-year plan at this point, because you're race chair for this year in your 3rd year.
Or I'm at the bottom of Everest, however you want to draw the picture.
Yeah. You become the chairman the day after, I'm assuming, last summer's race.
The day after the party.
Okay.
The day after the party, the day after the awards party here at Fabian.
And then which was when? How far?
October, I think.
Okay. So
I'm not great with dates, so.
No, we're in January, but maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so now race chair this year.
Yep.
You've had your party.
Yep.
You're in October. You're moving into December. Talk a little bit about sort of job responsibility November, December, because I don't think anybody has a clue. I swear to God, anybody has a clue how much work it takes to put this race on.
Oh, there's a ton of things that happen behind the scenes. So just to give people an idea of how many other moving parts there are to the race. People wonder what we do with all the money that we collect from entry fees. Entry fees only account for about 30 to 35% of what we need to actually run the race. So that drives our needs for sponsors. But then what do we spend that money on? Well, that's all the rest of the value that we bring to the participants for the race. And some of those things that bring value that they see. We got a great party up on the island. I mean, that is an absolute world-class party, and we've got to book the band now. The race trackers, everybody absolutely loves the race trackers. Well, we've got to book those now. We've got to start making all our applications for permits. We've got to start making those now. But the whole thing starts out with a notice of race. And
which happens when?
As soon as we can get it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Typically mid-November?
Typically mid-November, and we would like to have entries open, before Christmas. So we did that this year successfully. But this year we took it upon ourselves to do a complete review of the NOR.
Because?
Just simplify. I'm an operations guy. That's what I do.
Okay.
So
So you bring your professional background to the table.
Yeah. So we went through and we just tried to streamline it as much as possible. We tried to make the document easier to edit. Not that people in the past had done a bad job, but nobody really had the opportunity to focus on it. And this is why you have Mackinaw race chairmen that come from different disciplines, but all that love sailing and want to contribute to the sport that's contributed so much to us. So we start with the NOR, and this year in the NOR we really worked hard to simplify. So what I'd like to announce now, that unless you've read the NOR, you're not going to know, is we've removed the Round Island Channel light from the race course. And this is the firecracker light that's right at the end of the break wall in Mackinaw Island. It's very deep on both sides of that. There's no reason for it to be part of the race course, so we've removed it. Okay. We've worked really hard on thrifting the requirements.
Okay, if I'm a racer in this race all the time, you've eliminated that. Tell me the significance of it.
It's just people get kind of nicked on it at the end of the race.
Okay.
Somebody makes a mistake, goes the wrong side of it after they've been sailing for 2 days.
Right.
So
we've taken it. Simplifies it.
It just simplifies it, but it didn't. We dug into the root causes of why do we need this, Mark? And we really took, this year we took everything and said, why do we need that? And if we didn't need it, we took it out because it just creates more administrative headaches. It creates more headaches for the participant. We just want to make it simple.
Okay.
Some of the other things we did, we changed some of the paperwork requirements. So read your NOR again. Yeah, there's the old analogy that if you want to hide something from a sailor, you put it in the sailing instructions, and if you want to make it so they'll never find it, you put it in the NOR. Thank you, Gary Shoemaker, for that one. But
Inside baseball, so we'll let that.
yeah,
I get it.
yeah. So we got the NOR done, and also one of the things that's new to the NOR that we added into it is we've created a class for sport boats. And so for anybody who doesn't know what a sport boat is, think of a Milgus 32. That's kind of your prototypical sport boat. But there are a number of other boats in the Great Lakes that qualify as sport boats. There are quite a few all turboed up 1D35s here. We've got the IC37s. The Beneteau Figaro 2, I believe. I was just asked about that one. It qualifies. So we worked with a world-renowned yacht designer to help us develop a set of criterion for what defines a boat we are going to allow in the sport boat class. So these are really boats that you would really not want to do a 120-mile upwind leg on.
Right.
Because I think
cockpit and
yeah, but I think, as you know, the race typically goes, you've got to reach or something like that up to Cove Island, and then at some point you're going to go on the wind from Cove Island to the finish line.
Right.
So these boats will actually go up the shoreline. So they'll do the shore course.
Does expanding the field obviously help more boats? But does it also impact the fact that are you losing boats, or are you just trying to expand the field?
Well, what we're trying to do is we're trying to move to the boats young people are sailing now.
Okay.
You're not really going to find a person who's 40 going out and buying some of the older, racy, cruisy kind of boats.
Right.
That's not something that's really going to attract them. A lot of those people are looking at sport boats because you can take it out of the water. You look at the J70. That's a sport boat. It doesn't qualify for the race, but you look down at Grosse Pointe Yacht Club. They're effectively storing them out of the water up on rafts.
Right.
You look here. The Milgus 32s that are here at Bayview will be out of the water. The kind of the younger demographic, they're looking for something like that, where they don't have to maintain the bottom of it. They don't. I'm not saying they're not maintaining the boats,
No, I get
but
it.
what they want to do is they want to sail at a very high level, and they want to be able to prep their boat to that very high level and keep it that way. That's part of why Gary sails Etchells. That's part of why Dennis sails Etchells.
You also took the opportunity a few years ago to drop the requirement for 27 to 24, so I'm guessing you could pick up 25 cows.
Yes, we did. But
Very competitive.
after we did that, we had some safety and performance issues with the Milguses, and we actually moved that back up to 27 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was an experiment.
It was an experiment, and really, I hope, and at least for my term on the MRA, I'm going to really encourage that experimentation, because I don't think we, God forbid, I got it right. I don't believe that for a second, and I think we always need to be making small adjustments, trying to attract new people. Part of the discussion we're having right now among the MRA technical side of things is we're working to talk about what is a cruising boat, because the definition of a cruising boat is changing over time. We all think here in the Great Lakes we look at a cruising boat and we think of a sloop with a roller furling head sail, maybe a snuff spinnaker, tacked to the bow, and a day crown mainsail. But for most of the world, that's not a cruising boat. I go down to Miami. I go race in St. Martin or anywhere in the Caribbean. Go race in Europe. What you're seeing are boats that are pretty good sized boats. You're seeing boats in the 40, 50, 60 foot range. You're seeing them with multiple head stays and with permanently rigged roller furling head sails on them. You're seeing a very sophisticated boat, and I'm not saying that that's what everybody's going to have here in the cruising class, but you know, it probably wouldn't hurt us to be able to attract some of those guys to do some of those races.
I'm keep being told that my front room boat with its 42-inch television and
Yeah.
its nice upholstery and
Yeah.
big, completely refrigerator that's full of beer.
Yeah.
If I would remove the television and the rest of it, but then I wouldn't have my downstairs cottage. If
Yeah.
you will. So you race on Mondays in a beer league and you have some fun, and you can still race the boat, but I understand the point. It's not the same.
Well, I stay with Rob Wood quite a bit on his Not Such
Right.
30.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm all fine with the fireplace and, and the fridge and the TV.
Actually, the Mackinaw last year, the largest boat that's ever raced in your race, was a 115-foot boat, which
Yeah.
we had a chance to actually go on. And it's
Yeah.
the only, I've never seen a working boat, a working sailboat with a fireplace in it.
Yep.
And the big, huge glass dome that was about it, and the stainless steel kitchen. And
Yeah.
apparently it was the last boat they had built at a out in Maine someplace. It's the last boat that boatyard had ever built.
Yep.
And it was a beautiful boat.
It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, Peter Thornton, that's Peter Thornton's White Hawk, and it's an absolutely beautiful boat.
Unbelievable.
And, you know, it is starting to kind of look a little bit like, you know, what new cruising boats are. You know, not that they're going to be 100 XFoot, you know, Bermuda catch, but, you know, some of those features of, you know, a lot of roller furling sails. You know, if somebody has a catch or a yaw, chances are they've got a sail between the two masts. You know, and we're just trying to think out of the box. We want to keep it simple, but also we don't want to have our simple rules restrict people.
I asked the crew at the time, I said, did you guys ever sail while a fire was in the fireplace? I said, that's just one of the things we don't do. For obvious safety issues,
Yeah.
it would make perfect sense.
Yeah, you asked about things that we do this time of year, though.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things we do is we get in touch with, and we start coordinating with U.S. Sailing for all the measurement certificates. You know, because we've got to coordinate with them on, you know, are they making a change in any of their measurement certificates? How are those changes going to impact us, impact the race? We are one of their larger customers, meaning we are one, you know, when I say we, the participants are one of the largest single customer bases for that rating system. And, you know, we just want to make sure we stay in front of any changes, make sure we understand them, and can act on them quickly.
How many boats do you have registered right now for this coming summer?
I believe this morning was 56, and the sport boat class has met their requirements to have the class. We set a bogey for them that they needed to have bare minimum 8 boats to get their own start, and they're the first group of boats to hit their 8-boat minimum.
Did that surprise you?
No.
You just knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, but you know, we got to, you know.
You kind of know ahead of time.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, how many are you anticipating this year in terms of how many boats? Do you have
Yeah, you know,
225?
somewhere between 210, 212.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, maybe get, if it's a good year, we'll get up to 225.
Okay.
You know, Chicago, it's overwhelmingly a downwind race. You know, there are more large cities around the shoreline. It's easier to track a higher number of participants. Our race is 50% downwind, 50% upwind. Some people really don't like that upwind leg.
We're not a gotcha show here. I'm not asking any
Yeah.
specifics, but is this race a tens of thousands revenue or hundreds of thousands revenue in terms of actually running the race? And if you don't want to answer, I get it.
Hundreds.
Okay, so it's a full-time job. It's a
Yeah.
full-time business.
Yeah, of which, you know, overwhelmingly, if I had to describe it over the long term, it's a break-even proposition.
Okay.
Yeah. So, like I said, only 35% of the cost of running the race actually is paid by the participant's entry fee.
Which kind of brings me to sort of, if you go online and you see the race this year,
Yep.
you don't see a Bell's sponsorship.
You are correct.
Last year they announced that your season ending out on the island that they were discontinuing their sponsorship.
Yes, Larry announced on the stage that they would not be signing up to be the title sponsor for this year, and that they were looking at other opportunities. You know, Baby's had a great relationship with Bell's Beer, and we're actively working to be, you know, to attract other sponsors. We have a number of them that we're talking to right now. It's, you know, it's it changes the game when you don't have one person who comes in with a very large sponsorship.
Sure.
We have smaller sponsors, and some of them pretty good size, that participate virtually every year. But having that one big sponsor and being assured by putting together one contract really helps take the pressure off.
Does the cost go up on smaller sponsors since you lose a large sponsor?
No,
Okay.
no. We're working. We did have a $2 by foot, $2 per foot increase in the entry fee, but to be honest, that is consistent with inflation in other events. This race is, and people are going to beat me, and I'll probably get a lot of hate mail over this, but this is an inexpensive race.
Okay.
One of the races we did down in Florida, an afternoon race. So to do the race and go to the party, epic party, epic. Very, very different than the Bayview's award party,
Right.
which is an epic party. This was kind of an epic dressy party,
Right.
But an afternoon race, and the party afterwards was several $1,000s, and that was not including transportation, housing, and those kind of things. So, and the other events that we're doing in that series, they're in that ballpark. So, the Chicago race and the Bayview race, they're really great value for the dollar.
I think of losing sponsors. I lived in San Diego for a long time, and when I moved there, it was the San Diego Open. Then it became the San Diego Andy Williams Open. Then it became the San Diego Andy Williams Shearson Williams Open.
Yep.
And by the time at one point, they had 11 title sponsors.
Yeah.
And one day they finally decided it was just too big on the letterhead. They went to one sponsor. So changing sponsorships for a major sporting event is not a huge deal.
Yeah, it's not uncommon, and it forces us to assess, are we doing things right, and the race is still fine. If somebody would like to come back and be our title sponsor, we'd
It's available.
I'm sorry, I think now we call it our presentation sponsor. It is available. We'd love to have you there, but our sponsors are coming through. They'll be added to the website as their contracts are signed, and we're very happy.
Everything's available. I think
Yeah.
floor. Used to be you'd name the arena after somebody famous.
Yeah.
Now you name the floor and the locker room and the hall and the vestibule and the concession stand.
Yeah.
The Bob Smith's special
Yeah.
popcorn stand. So it's the name of the game. It's
Yeah,
just
and
part of the
well,
process.
we've done that before in the past. Because when they pulled out the Cove Island mark several years ago, the Canadian Coast Guard said they're no longer going to put that mark in, and actually going out and setting that mark is actually a significant amount of cost for the race, because we've got to have somebody. It's about a 200-mile round trip for somebody to take that mark out, because it's got to be taken out by a boat big enough to handle the mark. But my point here was that when that mark was first put in existence after the Cove Island Light was taken out, that was the NGS buoy, thanks to Bill Alcott, and NGS was the name of his company.
We're now at the end of January.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about February, March, April. I'm assuming it starts getting heated up middle of April, end of April.
Yeah, we're right now. What we're doing is we're making all the commitments that we need to make to execute on the race. The trackers are one of those, and there's really quite a few logistics associated around the trackers. And so what we'll be doing is we'll be firming up all those commitments. We start having meetings with I'm not the only volunteer here. We have the better part of 200 volunteers involved with the race, and they're much more important than I am. They do way more work. They know their jobs a lot better than I do. They've been involved a long time, and they do. They make my tenure and my term short.
Have you ever considered literally keeping track? I took over the junior sailing program at Crescent. I literally last year kept up track of every minute, just because I was curious for my own edification. And I was shocked at the end of the year as how much, a 10-minute phone call, like if I were a lawyer billing somebody, 20 minutes here, 5 minutes there, 10 minutes there, and I was shocked at the end of the summer and into the fall how much time I put in. I had no clue. Have you thought about that?
No.
Maybe it's too big a deal.
Yeah, I don't want to do that. That's going to be I hate to see the number at the end of the day. But so what we do now is we start getting our committee chairs together, and they start communicate. They're really friends with everybody that are on their committees. So they didn't stop communicating, but now we start formally communicating, and we work through things gone right, things gone wrong. Was anything broken? Is there anything we need to repair? Is there anything we need to make better arrangements on? We coordinate with Chicago Yacht Club on putting up signs, taking signs down. So it's just working out that communication. So we've gone through making the contractual commitments that we have to make. Those will be done, let's say give or take within the next month, our major contractual commitments. And then now it's working out the commitments with all the volunteers that do all the just amazing work.
Now you have Port Huron Yacht Club is it's a host in Port Huron. They do there's always, as we're all aware, Friday night before the race and
Yep.
Saturday there's a huge community event for Port Huron.
They're a wonderful partner to work with.
And they do, I don't know how many boats they house, but it's a lot.
It's a lot.
And down the Black River, working with them closely, I think has got to be, that's got to take a lot of just logistical
Well,
opportunity.
they're kind of our home away from home when we start doing the coordination with the city of Port Huron. We ended up having one really very large coordination meeting with all the first responders of the Blue Water Festival up there. So we'll get together with the Coast Guard, we'll get together with the police, the fire department, and we'll make sure everybody knows each other. Make sure, double check all the safety contacts. We do put emergency contact cards inside the skipper's packs, and they're our home away from home for those types of events.
How would you go about, what do I want to ask? I know exactly what I want to ask. We're seriously thinking about racing in the Mackinaw this year.
Okay.
So my question to you is, I've raced, the boat's been in the Great Lakes, it's a 32-foot boat.
Yep.
It's safe, it's got all of the hardware and all the safety features. What kind of cost is it, number one, just because I don't have a clue where you start.
Yep.
And is it the kind of race you'd want to race in with experienced sailors and a good boat, but not necessarily having the level of competitiveness that you guys have?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The first thing really to do is to look at the SERs, the safety equipment requirements, and go through those. And there could be a significant cost associated with getting all those items out of the that are necessary for the SER if the boat's not equipped with any of those right now.
Right.
And none of them individually are overwhelming. But if a boat's not new, it might not have, or if a boat's not been updated regularly, it might not have the DSC radio. There are things that it might not have. Then there's the entry fee, and then there's the fee associated with getting your rating certificate. And a boat like you're talking about, it could qualify for an ORR Easy certificate, which it is meant to be for I'm not going to say a class boat, but for a boat design that exists. So we refer to it as not a fully measured certificate. This boat's like that boat, therefore we'll give it a rating very similar. A naval architect looks things over, makes sure they make sense, and then gives the boat a rating.
I would think if you take the short course, which is what you'd be. Our joke on our boat is the minute it gets dark, we're finding some kind of port in a storm because we just don't care about.
Well, that would by definition you would get an ORR Easy certificate.
Yeah.
So, but
what's the entry fee for something? I'd say an average 30-footer, $1,000.
I'm gonna play. I'm gonna play really dumb. I don't remember exactly what we set our entry fee at.
Okay.
Yeah,
but it's not $5,000 or $6,000.
Oh no.
It's reasonable if you got 6 guys on board.
It's absolutely reasonable if you got 6 guys on board.
I think part of the discussion is, and when I talk to people who know about the race, they understand it. But I literally have talked to folks who think they know about the race, and I've heard it costs $20,000 to race in the Mackinaw.
Oh no.
But I'm saying that I've actually had people say that to me, and I said I don't think that's accurate.
Well, I mean, okay, so
if you had to rent everything, and I get that part of it, but I'm just talking about the entry fee and the rest of it.
Oh Lord, no, not even close.
So talk about what you get for your entry fee.
What you get for the entry fee is hopefully we get you a well-run race. We've got we change principal race officers every year, but that principal race officer is somebody who's participated in the race for as part of the race committee for a number of years. Very experienced person. You get the organization that comes along with the the Mackinaw Race Authority and all the volunteers. So we really try to put together a very professionally run race. You get your dock up on the island. You get a party. It's
experience.
It's a great experience. and I'm sure I missed, your family gets to see you on the tractor, your family gets to see you on the web page, on Facebook if you choose to do that. And it sounds like there's not a lot that goes along with it, but our our hats are some of the things we're doing this year to try to control some of those costs, since we don't have a title sponsor. We're going to move away from a lot of printed documents. We're going to go to documents that are going to be available online. And this race, and one of the things I'd really like everybody to know, and something that's very, very important, is sailboat racing is really, really changing. Back in the 70s, when we're out here racing, you saw people throw their, they take their Coke can or their beer can or whatever it was, they'd rip it and they'd sink it in the lake. Sailors don't do that anymore, but we're still not really very green yet, and we're not very green in the Mackinaw races. The race I was just telling you about down in Florida, that is a certified green race, and it's moving up to the next level. And I believe the organization is called Sailors at Sea, and they define different levels of green criterion for the race. And the simplest thing is just reducing the amount of paper that you put out there, moving away from bow stickers that may come off the boat. I know some people like having their bow sticker up there and all that other kind of stuff, but if they're misapplied, they come off the boat, they end up in the lake, and we get calls from the Canadian Coast Guard, we get calls from the DEQ, and that's not good. We shouldn't be doing that. All the mountain of printed documentation, the several thousand scratch sheets. We're going to make those available so that people can either carry them online on a phone, online on a tablet, on a computer. Many boats now are racing with a navigation computer. They'd be able to have that document there. But we're taking baby steps to start to green the race. The race that we just participated in, you weren't allowed to have any single-use plastic on the boat.
Well,
so
if you look at all the documents, all of the programs you see across with all the crap in the oceans,
yeah,
it's a wonder we're not moving in that direction.
Yes, well, we are just now starting to take small steps in that direction. And you'll see some of those changes in the race this year. And yes, there is a small component of cost control, but we need to start getting in and looking like the other major events at our level.
In the 70s, you could put your waste right through to the lake.
Yes.
You have to have a holding tank. So
yes,
the world's changed.
Absolutely.
From that point.
Yeah, we were down at one of the regattas. We were down at the first one of the SORC races, and somebody came up to the person doing check-ins and said, "Well, where's the official notice board?" And the person checking in looked at the person that was asking and said, "What part of no printed documentation don't you get?"
Right.
Yeah, look on yacht scoring. They happen to be using yacht scoring for their event, but we're not going to go militantly enforce it like that. But we got to start taking steps. We got to start getting there.
Make it a little more conscious in people's brains that this is something we're trying to get done.
Absolutely, and we're not going to register as a Sailor at Sea event yet, but hopefully in the future we'll register. We'll show that we've had some good improvements, and we just got to get a little better.
What do you like about being race director at this moment, knowing that there's a lot of work ahead?
Really, for me, it's give back. A lot of great people have helped me. A lot of great boat owners, a lot of great sailors, a lot of great teams. Bayview Yacht Club, has been a huge part of my life, and they've made me the sailor that I am today. Without them, I would not be here. So, this is give back.
What irritates you? And let me qualify that statement. I'm not looking for stories on folks that have bad things, but what could folks that you're working with, both contestants and people, what could they do better to make it easier for you guys as a committee?
Recognition of need for change. But that's everywhere. Nobody likes to make change. Everybody likes that. I don't have to do this because I did it last year. Right. It's going to be just like this.
Right.
But we do have to make change. And this year, like I said, in the NOR, we made some changes, and none of them are severe. None of them are. We didn't move below the mark. We didn't say you got to go across the finish line backwards. None of that kind of stuff. We just kind of tried to lighten the load a little bit.
it's cool because with the Sea Scouts last year who are down at Crescent were in your race.
Yeah.
And I literally think they came in 12 to 15 hours after the last boat.
Yeah.
As we tracked them. Because you got a bunch of high school kids in there.
Yeah.
But it was such a good experience. And when they got back to our club, they talked about it for a month.
Fantastic.
And it was, it was one of those, and again, without interacting with some of our juniors, I'm trying to figure out a way to get some of our junior sailors involved in maybe some of the bigger boats that come out of Crescent. Just even one or two well-versed young 16, 17-year-olds to sail a little bit.
Well, one of the things we've done here at Bayview, where it was a really successful program, is they call it the Hitchhiker program.
Right.
And that works
Is that the
really
green
well.
flag?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, where if a boat's
Explain
going to if a boat's going to go out for a weeknight race, they hang a flag on the back of the boat, and I believe it's got a thumb on it. It's the Hitchhiker flag, and it signifies that they're willing to take people on their boat to do that race. So it gives people an opportunity to go sailing, try it out. There are two aspects to it. One of them is it gives a young person an opportunity to get on the boat. The other part of it is it allows somebody who's not necessarily actively involved in sailing to have a sailing experience.
We talk all the time at our club. Dave Simon, our Commodore, and wants to. We should have a bunch of young kids come out. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
When we talk to young kids, we'd love to go sailing. So you say, well, how come they're not? Well, we ask, and then it's one of they don't. It's just communication, just making sure that that program of putting the flag up makes it easy for everybody to see if they want to go. It's an easy approach.
Absolutely, and some boats with with long racing pedigrees, some of them it's hard to thank you, Jen. Some of them it's it's tough for somebody to go up and approach that boat and say, hey, do you need somebody to just hand out the drinks tonight, or you need somebody to just fold spinnakers or pack spinnakers after you pull them down. It can be a little intimidating, but I would encourage people to make some friends on the dock, talk to people.
Somebody were contemplating doing the Mackinaw, maybe they haven't, and maybe if you have, but either way, give us a timeline now is when we start thinking about things and getting things put together
Now.
as a crew.
Now.
Earlier.
Yeah.
When's the deadline to actually the application deadline?
Oh boy! Once again, I am horrible at those kind of
That's
hard
fine.
dates.
I can look it up on the site.
No,
It's
no,
not a big deal.
I'm horrible at hard dates like that.
Okay.
I never remember those kind of things.
But you like early reservations.
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
than last minute.
I believe in May. Yeah, and I'm gonna look like I'm not paying attention to.
No, I don't think that was the point.
Yeah, but the things that you need to start working on now are the SERs. Review those SERs. If there's anything you need to do to your boat to become compliant with the SERs, do it now. It's so much less costly to do it now than it is to do it 2 weeks before the race. Your rating certificate. You need to make your application for your rating certificate. U.S. Sailing just opened up, for 2020 applications, and U.S. Sailing is not a huge staff. It's not like they've got rows and rows and rows of hundreds of people administering their certificates. There's one or two people. And one of the guys that just works an unbelievable number of hours, Nathan Titcomb, he processes virtually 100% of the ORR certificates in the country.
That's a lot.
And he's got to set them up and process them by order of race. So just last weekend we were going to do the race from Miami to Key West, and that's the first race of the year that needs an ORC certificate. So, yeah, nobody else is going to get a certificate before that race.
This may sound like a dumb question, but who actually does safety inspections if you are racing and you have got all your money? Where do you take a boat to get its safety inspection?
You can make it so we now have a person, so on the website you will find that we've got a safety committee email there. So for any questions you have about the SERs, you can ask a person who's on the safety committee. But then what you can do is you can contact the Mackinaw Inspection Committee before the race, and they can pre-inspect your boat.
Does every boat have to be inspected?
No.
Okay, so how do you know that they have the stuff? Is it just their good conscience?
Well, first off, this is a Corinthian sport.
Understand.
And yeah, Corinthian sport means I do what I say what I do.
Right.
And we really trust in that, because we can't inspect every single aspect of safety on every single boat. We look for the major things that have direct impact on safety. But then up on the island, the boats that weren't so when you get to the island, your chances, if you were pre-inspected, of getting inspected on the island are pretty slim. Then we have a system worked out on the island where when you show up, we have 2 wells that are designated just for inspection. You pull into one of those wells. We've now got it down where there's half a sheet of paper you will be handed. The front side of that half a sheet of paper are things every boat's going to be inspected for. The back side of that sheet of paper are things that your boat's going to be inspected for. We've got 4 or 5 different versions of that backside. And you collect your things, and you bring them up on deck, and you make them available for the safety committee.
Do you catch people not doing it?
Yes, and it's
Sorry.
really disappointing. It feels horrible to have to fill out a protest against somebody because they didn't do their man overboard drills. But part of doing the man, and I'm certain they did the man overboard drill, but you need to document it. You really do. It's really important. It's not something that we're looking to do. We do not. It is so hard for that committee to say, I'm going to protest you and potentially gives you a time penalty or something like that. It's not what they want to do.
And it's also important to point out that you guys have never had any fatalities, but in recent years we've had one in Chicago.
Yes.
And it can happen. I mean, bad things can happen. Last year there were some masts that were stripped off the boats.
Yep.
Some fairly serious accidents last year.
Yep. Absolutely.
And that stuff happens, but if you're not prepared for it, bad things happen.
Yeah, you really need to be prepared for it. And I really think the safety at sea training, I really think that is absolutely fantastic. And I believe it's in May. I think it's in May. We're gonna do the In the Water Safety at Sea course, and it will be hosted over at Detroit Yacht Club. And I really encourage everybody that can register for that course to do it.
I'm assuming you're racing this coming summer.
Yes, I am racing, but I haven't made my decision whether I'm going to do the Mackinaw race yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is your Friday night in Port Huron as a participant different than a race director?
Well, my Friday evening in Mackinaw Island as a...
No, I'm talking about in Port Huron.
Oh, no. My Friday evening as a participant in Port Huron is non-existent.
Okay.
I'm the for many years I've been the navigator on Equation.
Okay.
And we lay pretty low.
Okay.
So
the frivolity that we all see on TV does not exist for those who are serious about the race.
Not so much. Not quite as much.
And last question, and it kind of sort of sums it up.
I don't want you to think that we don't have fun.
No,
when we get to the island, watch out.
I understand that. There were some folks last year on some non-suches that actually put Dodgers up because they just wanted to be comfortable because they weren't going to be finishing the top 3 or 4. Give me a sense in your mind. I know that this is a big-time race worldwide, internationally.
Yes.
But maybe talk to that just briefly about this is the real deal. Both
Yeah.
the Chicago to Mackinaw and the Port Huron to Mackinaw. One of the best freshwater races in the world.
They are the best freshwater races in the world. And you bring up a good point, fresh water. For friends of mine that race out in the ocean all the time, they call coming here and getting to sail dry water sailing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the water doesn't smell, it doesn't stick to you, it's not kind of slimy when it gets on everything. It's absolutely amazing sailing in fresh water. But then the boats that we sail against here,
Serious boats.
serious boats, and almost without exception, there are no races that I can really think of. I mean, Antigua Race Week. I mean, the only race that I can come up with that I think is even close to having the level of boats that we have in this race is Bermuda.
In the short term I've done this series, it seems to me that we've done, the sailing community in the area has done a poor job of getting outside our own boundaries in communication.
Yeah.
And if you want to grow the sport, there has to be more than just an isolated and an insulated process.
Yeah.
And the more you get out, I'm in the world of lacrosse, and it's growing, and it has grown because we got past that small group of folks that just wanted to be a part of that thing, and sort of, and by getting out there more, and I really believe that if more folks would show up, the various programs to get more people on boats, I think that changes it a lot.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our vehicle for getting out to the world for this race, we've got Facebook, we've got the web page, but we've got all that other kind of stuff. The tracker is our vehicle for getting out to the world. Because when we go back and we look at the hits on the tracker, we have hits from all over the world. It is amazing the number of people that are coming and viewing that web page. And just to put...
just follow your friends.
Well, absolutely. Well, absolutely. Because I've got friends that are Russian,
right.
That race. They're doing a big race in Russia. I'll go look and see what's going on. Or, I'll go look and see what's going on in, such and such a race or such and such a race because I've got friends there.
Right.
But, the Bayview Mackinaw race, and I can only speak to this race because I don't have the data for any of the other races. But give or take, we get everybody who comes to the Race Tracker website spends almost 2.5 minutes on the Race Tracker website twice.
It's a lot.
Yeah, so they're there involved looking at the race for 5 minutes. Eyes on all the competition.
Well,
and that's fantastic.
And I think the other thing is last year one of the guys that raced out of Crescent, all of a sudden in the tracker you could see he'd made a left-hand turn. And he was headed towards, in this case, Alpena.
Yeah.
You're thinking, well, something must be seriously wrong.
Yeah.
And within a couple hours, we find out that he'd been masted, and that was the end of his race. And then, but the cool part was following him south to come home.
Yeah.
So, he's here, and he's obviously motoring home.
Yeah.
And we're kind of keeping track with him. He must have stopped in Port Huron to stay overnight because he didn't want to, So it has some value. It really does. So
well, with the tracker, one of the things I want to bring up is this is. Yellow Brick is a great service, and I'm not discounting Yellow Brick in the least. They're an absolutely fantastic partner. They're great people to work with. We only use a fraction of their data that they have available. We'll be doing a couple of experiments this year. Not that it'll impact the racers. The racers won't even know we're doing it. But we'll be looking at finding ways to manipulate more of the data that they can provide us. But this is also, there aren't that many races in the world where the trackers are provided free anymore. And the tracker is one of those things, and I think people would be shocked if they realized how expensive the trackers are.
Well, if you want to know how much, all you have to do is call up any courthouse who has trackers, monitors on people's legs.
Yeah.
And they are basically the same technology.
Absolutely.
And you'll find out if you're a criminal.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to point out, but they charge criminals a lot of money to wear tethers.
And for all these races that we're doing down in Florida, we have to buy and have on the boat our own tracking system. We've got to use Garmin InReach, the Lorem InReach, a Spot. There's technology that you have to have on the boat, or you're not allowed to race. And it is part of the value, and that's one of our largest single bills is the tracker.
We've talked a lot about the race, and I guess I'll leave it. Is there anything coming up for this summer's race that you're looking forward to, or anything that's...
I'm looking to see the sport boats go.
Okay.
I'm really looking forward to that because, like I said, we've done this to attract younger people into long distance races. One of the things, I'm a member of the Storm Trysail Club, and to become a member of the Storm Trysail Club, you had to do X number of miles offshore in X really bad conditions where you probably really didn't want to be there anyways. And it's hard to qualify to become a member, and then you have to be asked.
Right.
And it's hard to qualify to become a member of the Storm Trisol anymore because those races aren't available, because younger people aren't doing long distance races. And we've got to find, and not that this is, this is only, 200, 270 miles, but getting people involved in an overnight race, there's a lot more to it than just coming down, throwing your boat in the morning, going sailing, and then hauling it back out again.
Okay.
Well, Greg.
Well, I appreciate the time. I very much appreciate the time. I should point out that if anybody has a few extra dollars and they're looking for a place to park their money in a sponsorship for a great event,
We'd love to have it.
give Chris a call. Other than that, we look forward to this summer, and thanks so much for giving us an insight to what maybe a lot of folks don't know. So,
And I just like to take the opportunity to thank you so much.
Appreciate
and
your
I just
time.
want to take the opportunity to thank, one, all the participants, two, all our sponsors, and three, all our volunteers.
Cool.
One of the things I've really left out of this, we have Linda Rosiak is now our new race administrator.
Okay.
And Linda also has a 5-year agreement with the club, and she's in her first year, and she is our race administrator.
Cool.
So everybody will be running into Linda. She's a great person and has been the Chicago Yacht Club, the Chicago to Mackinaw, the race to Mackinaw as they call it. She's been the race administrator for that race.
Very cool. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
For all the folks in the back, my name is Greg Norman. This is Inside Great Lakes Sailing, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.